Number 9. Jason Alexander. After spending most of her adulthood living under the thumb of a restrictive conservatorship that left her with little control over her own life, Britney Spears finally regained her personal and financial freedom late last year. She recently did something she had been waiting to do for a long time before the landmark court ruling. She married her longtime boyfriend Sam Asghari in a private ceremony at her home outside Los Angeles. As if the pop princess hadn't been through enough, her ex-husband Jason Alexander decided to try crashing the wedding. He even recorded footage of himself approaching security and claiming that Britney had invited him, and then throwing in a bizarre statement about how he was her first and only husband and that he planned to crash the event. Alexander's phone froze as the clash became physical, and deputies from the Ventura County Sheriff's Office were called to the scene to get the situation under control. He somehow got past security and made his way onto Britney's property. Thankfully, law enforcement showed up and removed him. The marriage between Britney and Alexander was short-lived, 55 hours to be exact. They impulsively tied the knot in Vegas in 2004, only for at least one of them to soon realize that they didn't want a lifelong commitment. Alexander has shown support for Britney throughout her court battle to end her conservatorship, and he even claimed in 2020 that the pair had recently been in contact with one another. But it's clear, based on Alexander's strange behavior and the fact that he was undoubtedly unwelcome at Britney's wedding, that there's more to the story, and that perhaps he was exaggerating when he made it seem like the two are still friends. Shortly after the incident, both Britney and her new husband got restraining orders against Alexander, who faces trespassing, battery, and vandalism charges. Number 8. Evan BALTIERRA. In mid-2020, a Canadian video gamer who live-streamed her hobby on the Twitch platform started being harassed by a male fan whose behavior had become concerning after she met him in person the year earlier. The woman, known as Nali, explained in a Twitlonger post that the man became excessively needy. He acted desperate for her attention, but she simply wasn't interested in him in that way. A recent criminal complaint identifies the alleged stalker as a 29-year-old former cop from Los Angeles named Evan BALTIERRA. When it became clear that he wasn't going to voluntarily leave his victim alone, she pursued a restraining order. He signed it, indicating that he understood and agreed to the terms, but the unwanted contact continued. Nali received threats of violence against herself and her family, and her personal information, including her P.O. box address, was shared online. BALTIERRA reportedly even tried hiring a private investigator to track down his victim's home address and used his law enforcement background as an intimidation tactic against the young woman. He was banned from the gaming platforms he harassed her on and repeatedly appealed the bans in a relentless attempt to gain access to Nali. The constant badgering got so bad that Blizzard Entertainment hired extra security to ensure that she was safe at public events. The FBI raided BALTIERRA's home earlier this year and reportedly found evidence that he owns several of the accounts that harassed Nali, along with images of her face photoshopped onto naked women's bodies. He's free on bond, but faces up to 5 years in federal prison if convicted. Number 7. Jacques BOUTHIER. 4 women in Tangier, Morocco recently accused French millionaire and insurance tycoon Jacques BOUTHIER of firing them from his company after they refused his advances. The victims, who are all between 26 and 28 years old, claim that the 75-year-old businessman expressed an interest in a physical relationship with him. When they turned him down, he allegedly began to harass the women. To make matters worse, the accusers said that they were also abused by other executives and company bigwigs. Feeling like she had no other choice, at least one woman resigned from her job. French authorities began investigating the case earlier this year after a 22-year-old woman appeared at a police station in Paris and reported that BOUTHIER had kept her captive for 5 years, forcing her to do things she didn't want to do in exchange for food and shelter. Another woman said that when she rejected Bouthier, he asked if she could hook him up with an attractive female relative or friend, offering a nice gift as compensation for the favor. Bouthier claims that he's the victim of an elaborate blackmail scheme, but the truth over who's guilty and who's innocent will likely come out in the coming months as the disturbing investigation unfolds. As the case gains traction in the media, the allegations against Bouthier continue to mount. He's accused of trafficking, harassing, and verbally and morally abusing numerous women, including some minors. Number 6. Christopher Fisher. A 30-year-old British man named Christopher Fisher recently learned that there's a price to pay for not leaving your ex-lover alone when he received a 6-year prison sentence for harassing his former partner. He allegedly created numerous social media accounts and made various threats against her, including telling her that he wished she was dead and that he hoped for other bad things to happen to her. Fisher's ex-girlfriend ended the relationship all the way back in 2018. As soon as she dumped him, she was met with a barrage of social media calls and other correspondence, including at one point nearly 200 phone calls in a day. The victim stood her ground and made it abundantly clear that she wanted zero contact from Fisher, but he refused to respect her wishes. In fact, his behavior only seemed to escalate, leaving her with no choice but to pursue a restraining order. Not surprisingly, Fisher violated the order of protection, causing his victim to live in constant fear and feel like she hadn't truly escaped from the relationship. As if that all wasn't bad enough, the suspect reportedly contacted all of the woman's male friends, asking for details about her romantic life. Fisher allegedly got so desperate for a reaction from her that he faked his own death and reached out to her with the news while pretending to be other people. All the while, the woman had to explain the situation to the people in her life, including her family members, friends, and co-workers. The stress wore on her, and she eventually developed PTSD, which she struggles with to this day, in addition to other mental health issues stemming from the stalking. After serving 16 months in prison for harassing his victim, Fisher was released and went right back at it, contacting her non-stop until he was arrested again several months later and handed his current sentence. Number 5. Katie Price. British media personality and model Katie Price has found herself in the news headlines quite a bit in recent years. In one of her latest scandals, the 44-year-old was accused of harassing her ex-husband, Kieran Hayler's fiancée, 39-year-old Michelle Pentecost. Price was about to go on vacation in Thailand with her own fiancé, Carl Woods, when she learned of the charges being brought against her and was picked up at her home by police. She spent the night in a jail cell and made arrangements to face a judge once she returned from the trip for allegedly violating an order of protection Pentecost had against her. Katie and Michelle's contentious past dates as far back as 2019, when Katie allegedly verbally abused her ex's new partner at a playground. She was ordered to stay away from Michelle and not contact her, but apparently couldn't resist the urge to get the last word in. Earlier this year, Price allegedly contacted her ex and told him to pass along a message to his fiancé, who had recently set Katie off with an Instagram post that she later claimed wasn't directed at her. Katie's decision to mouth off at her ex about Michelle got her accused of attempting to contact Michelle via a third party, which is a violation of the protective order. Price recently pleaded guilty to violating the restraining order and is facing possible jail time of up to 5 years behind bars at her upcoming sentencing. Number 4. Stephanie Ramos Rodriguez. In April 2019, police in Laredo, Texas responded to a call from a 29-year-old man and his girlfriend who claimed that the man's ex-wife was harassing them. Someone had contacted a girlfriend using what seemed like a fake Facebook account to warn her about the man and went on to accuse him of being broke and a wife batterer who abandoned his kids. The couple believed that there was only one person who had it out for the man badly enough to do something like this, and pointed the finger at 33-year-old Stephanie Ramos Rodriguez. At first, The woman didn't make a big deal out of the matter and simply blocked the suspicious profile. But soon after that, she received a phone call at her job. Suspecting that it was Ramos Rodriguez, she forwarded the call to her boyfriend, who confirmed that the caller was his ex-wife. But the suspect allegedly continued to call and kept asking to speak with her ex-husband's girlfriend. When the woman refused to take the bait, Ramos Rodriguez reportedly went on social media and made slanderous posts calling her a homewrecker. For as persistent as the suspect was in trying to reach her alleged victims, she was nowhere to be found when detectives tried reaching her a few days later. Ramos Rodriguez went to the police station with her attorney, who said that his client was trying to reach her ex because he was failing to meet his financial obligations to her and their children. But the authorities apparently didn't buy the explanation and charged the suspect with harassment. Hopefully, she's put the situation behind her and has moved on to bigger and better things than wasting energy on the scraps from her past. Number 3. Jacqueline MacNeal. Calgary Police Constable Jacqueline MacNeal is being accused of harassing a woman who dated her on and off boyfriend. And while the authorities haven't released many details, some people who claim to know her say that it's not her first run-in with the law over her tendency to bother women who date the men from her past. In 2020, MacNeal admitted to creating a fake profile on a dating website and luring a woman into meeting. She also confessed to abusing her access to the phone information database by researching the victim's information at least a dozen times. A judge demoted the cop for a year and suspended her without pay for a week. By then, MacNeal apparently had an established history of this type of behavior, based on notes in her court records, which clarify that her past offenses had been dealt with internally at her job. After being disciplined under Canada's Police Act, MacNeal was recently charged with criminal harassment yet again. She's still waiting to appear in court for the charges, and her lawyer has chalked the situation up to a big misunderstanding that MacNeal looks forward to clearing up. While she allegedly committed the misconduct while off duty, the consequences of how she handles her personal life have inevitably spilled over into her career. MacNeal has been taken off active duty after serving with the Calgary Police for 16 years, as the allegations against her take center stage in her life. And at this point, it sounds like she faces an uphill battle when it comes to proving that she had any remote reason to contact the individuals who have filed complaints against her. Number 2. Perverted professor. A physics professor has been suspended from his teaching positions at the Jordan University of Science and Technology in Amman amid troubling allegations that he harassed several of his female students. The case recently went viral amid ongoing efforts to draw awareness to the situation and to the seemingly pervasive problem of harassment against women in the country in general. A 21-year-old student named Seba Al-Tamari has received claims of the professor's alleged misconduct dating as far back as 2006. She has posted a series of tweets detailing the crimes that he's been accused of, including requiring female students to meet with him alone in his office so that he could make an advance on them. One former student told the Roya news outlet that the professor insisted on her coming to his office. When she arrived and wasn't receptive to his behavior, she claimed he became threatening and verbally abusive. The accused professor also spoke to the media. He adamantly denied the allegations and claimed that he's being unfairly subjected to a baseless smear campaign. When asked about photographic and video footage that has appeared online, he claimed that the clips were fabricated and that he never engaged in inappropriate conduct toward anyone. But his accusers feel differently, leading the largest ever campaign against sexual harassment in Jordan. In the words of Jordanian National Commission for Women Secretary General Salma Nims, the long overdue wave of activism is breaking a much-needed silence. Until now, complaints were often only made under extreme circumstances and conditions of anonymity. And now that survivors are finding their voices and demanding justice, it's hopefully only a matter of time before perpetrators are held accountable for their actions. Number 1. William FICKEY. The Professional Standards Department at the Manatee County Sheriff's Office in Florida recently received a phone call from the mother of one of their officers' ex-girlfriends. She accused 27-year-old former Deputy William FICKEY of stalking her daughter after the young woman broke up with him last October. According to the complaint, FICKEY and the woman got together in 2019, but the relationship became unhealthy, prompting her to finally end things. Allegedly unwilling to take no for an answer, FICKEY is accused of continuing to contact his ex-girlfriend and even making threatening statements against her. All she wanted was to be left alone, but it seemed nearly impossible to get him to go away. FICKEY is currently on active duty with the U.S. Army Reserves, but he's now lost his job as a cop and is at the center of an ongoing investigation into the concerning claims. In addition to being fired, he is facing criminal charges in connection to the case. Thanks for watching. Would you rather work for the same company as your least favorite ex, or be forced to listen to music you can't stand all day, every day at your job? Let us know in the comments below. See you next time.